Hi, my name is Alyssa Mendel, and I'm a research project manager here at Sanford Research. I work with the cord registry. Today, I'll talk to you a little bit about what cord is and what Sanford is. So Sanford Health is a large healthcare system here in the Dakotas. Our central location is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. As you'll see, we do cover quite a large footprint here. It's about the size of Texas, so we have clinics throughout the region and even throughout the world, a couple hospitals too in North Dakota, Minnesota, and South Dakota. And with that, there is a division of Sanford Research that comes from Sanford Health. This is where the CORDS registry lives, is under that Sanford Research umbrella. This is a picture of where our office is here located. And with Sanford Research, there are different initiatives that we have here. The CORDS registry happens to fall under this Pediatrics and Rare Diseases Initiative. So that last slide that you saw with the photo of Sanford Research, there are many scientists that we have here and down in our lab that study rare conditions as well. So we understand that in rare disease, many times the patients and their family members are the experts. So in order to properly investigate a disease, researchers need to have a full understanding of the disease's natural history. So out of these ideas, Sanford Health has sponsored the development of the CORDS registry. Sometimes people aren't very familiar with what a registry is. So at minimum, registry collects data. This could be demographic data such as contact information, health information, or quality of life. This can be patient entered or clinician entered. A registry can serve as a way to contact members of a group later on, or it can also serve to build up the story of the progression of a disease. And that's that natural history that I was speaking of. So what is CORDS? So CORDS stands for the Coordination of Rare Diseases at Sanford. It's a patient registry for all rare diseases, conditions, carriers, and undiagnosed. So we tie together patients, advocacy groups, and researchers. Unlike other registries that are out there, Sanford Health sponsors CORDS, and we are able to provide this registry at no cost to patients, foundations, and researchers. So we are a free service, as I mentioned, because we are a part of Sanford Health, which is a very large healthcare system here in the Dakotas. We are able to provide this amazing service for free. So patients and families can complete a questionnaire. We will also partner with advocacy groups that represent rare diseases, and they can compose a more disease-specific questionnaire asking more details about the rare condition that they represent. Participants enroll in CORDS by completing their questionnaire. Participants can complete that questionnaire either online, they can do it by mail, they could do it over the phone, and then if they do it through mail CORDS, we will enter all of the data in for the person, or we will also enroll them on the phone. So researchers and clinicians and pharmaceutical companies, they can apply for access to the CORDS database. Here's a quick metric snapshot. You'll see we have over 14,000 some participants in the registry. We represent about 1,900 different rare diseases. We've partnered with well over 80 different advocacy groups, and you'll see we do have a very large international presence as well. We've also had about over 80 some different researchers access our researcher portal for data or to utilize CORDS to contact people to participate in their clinical trial or study. So how can we help? So the majority of rare diseases do not have a registry. Many people who have a rare condition haven't even found their cohort yet, which is why you saw that we have well over 1,900 different rare diseases in the registry, because CORDS does not require you to be a part of a foundation to enroll. So like I mentioned, we are disease agnostic, so we take anybody with a rare condition. A big question we always get is who owns the data in CORDS? So the participants are the primary owners of the data because they get to control how the data is used. So if they want to share their data with an advocacy group, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to. They get to pick and choose when they want to remove their data, if they would want to completely not be in CORDS anymore. They have total control over that. And CORDS is an IRB approved study, so that means we have to adhere to all of the ethics and regulations, not only with HIPAA, but also that the IRB has. CORDS will never sell, rent, or lease personal information. Information in CORDS remains there unless the participant, as I mentioned, gives consent to share that out. So how is CORDS data used? So researchers, they can petition to get access to de-identifiable data. Pharmaceutical companies can also get access to that data. And then researchers in pharma, they're also able to utilize CORDS to have CORDS send a notification to a specific cohort of people about a clinical trial or a clinical study that has become available. Patient advocacy groups can also use the data for non-research purposes such as education or grant applications. New discoveries are made based on the information contained in the natural history of a disease. So patients own their stories. And by sharing each story, scientists and doctors can learn more about how to approach rare disease research and treatments. To date, CORDS has been in several different publications. Here are a few that I thought I would share with you. So you'll see all of these are disease-specific questionnaires that CORDS has created with these foundations. Data has been analyzed and then published in these journals. So how to enroll? So there is a link on our website, or oftentimes partners will link the enrollment form on their website. It's a pretty easy process. Once a participant is inside their online portal, this is the first screen that they'll see. And it walks them through. You'll see at the top where it says Save and Next. It just walks you seamlessly through the questions. Once you get to the end, it'll show you a thank you screen. And here is the home screen of the participant portal. There's a spot where participants can upload documents, such as any type of genetic reports that you'd want to upload. There's also a family branching mechanism that CORDS has in this feature. If there's cousins or sisters, brothers, parents, if they want, they can link all of their data. So when a researcher goes to access that data, they will be able to see the family connection that's there. The other thing too I want to mention is we do have a researcher portal that looks very similar to this. This is where a researcher would create their account and then make their request for data. So once the researcher submits that request, they would then be able to download all of their data in real time through that portal. The request does go through CORDS Scientific Advisory Board, which consists of a couple scientists and a couple other directors here at Sanford. All in all, it's a very easy process. If the researcher or pharmaceutical company also wanted CORDS to notify people about trials or studies, that's the same portal that request could also be made. So wrapping up, CORDS is 100% free of charge for all participants. Information from the CORDS registry enables scientists to steer their research in the direction of novel discoveries. Patients, advocacy groups, and researchers are all brought to one location to combine their strengths. And again, CORDS costs nothing. We are a free service. The other thing I will say too is we have a podcast where we will interview different foundations and scientists about various rare conditions. I would encourage you all to go and listen and check it out for yourselves. So thank you again for having me today. And if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you so much for letting me join. I really appreciate it. I am currently at the World Symposium for Lysosomal Storage Disorders in San Diego at the conference. So I'm really excited to be here and continuing to get to know the rare disease community, particularly focus on storytelling and make sure that we're acknowledging, as we'll talk about in just a second, everyone on their own diagnostic odyssey and journey, and that we're able to support communities in the quest to unlock new treatments for people affected by rare disease. So I'd be happy to share my screen if you just give me 1 second here. Okay. So again, by way of introduction, my name is Rich Ellis. I'm the Director of Patient Advocacy for Allstripes. We are here today just to chat a little bit more about what's going on in the community for rare disease research and how we're working to advance treatments within each community across the portfolio, which we'll talk about in just a second, but it's such a pleasure. I appreciate you sharing your space with me today. As we do with every meeting, both internally and externally at Allstripes, we focus on the mission first, and then as simple as to unlock new treatments for people affected by rare disease. You can see on the right there, 3 members of the CCM community that we're working with. We're actually able to unlock a bit about their father's diagnosis in addition to the children with CCM3. So we've been fortunate enough to work with ambassadors across several different communities to again, learn more about their stories and history. And before we get talking about how, I just wanted to share a little bit more about who we are. So Allstripes is a company that uses de-identified medical data to empower patients to get involved in research. And when the idea of empowering patients came to be in this form, at least, is actually our founder, who has NF2, was diagnosed in 2016 and felt left out of the research process as an individual and as a family. NF2 is a condition that leaves you with the neurodegenerative tumors up and down the spine and affects audiology and shows up on neurology scans always. So when he looked at what was being done in the research world for his condition, there really wasn't much. And he said, how can we get more involved? So our first records that we collected were his. The first condition we launched was NF2, simply because he wanted, as an individual and as a patient, wanted to be more involved in what was going on in the research side. Over the last 5 years, we've grown from just that one condition and one file and filing cabinet of records all the way across 50 different conditions in the rare disease community. We specialize rare, and again, unlocking new treatments is the goal. A little bit about what we do and how we do it specifically is starting with our values. It's so important to recognize people as individuals within the rare disease community, listen to stories, listen to perspectives, and incorporate that into what we do, while also embracing vulnerability, transparency, and being heart forward in the rare disease work that we do. But the how is the important part as well. Number one, and if you talk to me for more than 10 minutes, you'll hear me say it 100 times, patients own their data, always. That's the way it should be. Data is out there in every area of our society, and being able to take the most intimate parts of your medical history and own them is so important to powering research and getting involved wherever things are happening. Allstripes is a 2-sided digital community that empowers patients and drives research. That's what we're here to do. For someone sitting at home who wants to be involved in research or in clinical trials, really just being able to contribute wherever necessary. So it starts with everyone's individual story. What we're doing is then taking data with consent of individuals and families and creating these regulatory grade data sets that are ready for evidence. For rare disease, there are more than 7,000 rare diseases, and sometimes you have to put your hand up and say, we are ready for research. We have the data to prove it, and we are ready to drive progress as a community. And it's important to be ready whenever the opportunity comes. So we build communities out across the rare disease portfolio to use data to support those research causes. How we're doing it specifically is with medical records collection and management. So the idea here is that an individual, a family, a patient, a caregiver, anyone is able to sign up with genetic confirmation of a diagnosis and just take 10 or 15 minutes to list where they've been seen, provide consent to be part of research. And then our operations team goes to work, finds those medical records regardless of where you are and where you've been seen over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4 decades, and able to piece that together and make those records available to you in a portal that can be used both online or downloaded for use. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that patient communities have access to their own records. Patients should always own their data and own their story. To date, we've worked with nearly 4,000 facilities across the US, Canada, and the UK, and that list grows every day. So with more relationships comes the ability to contribute. What we're doing on the research side is separated into three groups to drive progress. And we're trying to make sure that the communities are rowing in the same direction to enable progress as efficiently as possible. Number one is working on insights to provide basic information back to patients who provide de-identified medical data about their community, because we are that exactly a community, and making sure that everyone knows that they're not alone, that there's work being done within that space is so important on any part of the diagnostic journey. In the middle there, we're working on a few different research collaborations that includes Penn Orphan Drug Center, a few different universities across the United States, as well as a couple of centers of excellence across rare disease, to just chat about research collaborations and understand what does the community want to know, what questions want to be answered for rare disease. And then on the right side there, additionally, we are trying to drive progress and unlock new treatments for rare disease. That includes life sciences partnerships. What are we doing with the pharmaceutical community to make sure that communities are being heard and attention is being paid to those in need to make real tangible change? But as already mentioned, my true heart is in advocacy, and that starts with education and awareness about each individual condition. My passion is storytelling and making sure that individuals are heard in a way that makes them feel comfortable. Across our 50 different conditions, we have more than 150 who have become ambassadors and learned a way that they're comfortable sharing their story to how they've gotten to where they are and what comes next. We have a lot of folks who have shared their stories 100 times, but there are also several who are just finding ways to share in the very first time. That's where I get a special enjoyment of building that trust with each community. You can see here for us, these are our partners, our ambassadors, our stories that are being told to make sure that the rare disease community is heard, is being fought for, and has an ally in research, because that's what we're trying to do. In the future, what we're growing into is someone who's supporting the mitochondrial community as well as the entire rare disease community, and understanding the nuances, because we believe that all diseases at some point, the way that they're sequenced and characterized, will be considered rare diseases because of how specific things have gotten. And we want to make sure that we're supporting the communities both on the research side and on the storytelling side as ambassadors. So I've had the opportunity to speak with the fine people here and understanding ways to get better involved. And this is something that we've talked about, working with the community to provide these types of resources. And again, it's done it for patients at no cost. As we move into the rest of this year and continue to understand how to best push research forward together, we'll certainly be working together and finding the best way to do that. So looking forward to meeting more members of the community and sharing more. I'll have my contact information about this initiative and what we're doing handed out and make sure it's distributed. But I really appreciate you sharing your space with me today and allowing me to speak. So thank you so much.